Hello and welcome to the Capital Games Movie Club. I'm the Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
Zero. So, we've taken a lot of, well, really not a lot, but the last few movies we've done have been pretty serious or, serious, I guess. So you decided last week, well, you gave me the choice last week of some comedies to watch. And the one we chose today is...
Black Dynamite.
Yes, Black Dynamite, the 2009 Blaxplotation satire directed by Scott Sanders. I've taken a look at his IMDb, and unfortunately, he doesn't have much than Black Dynamite and Thick as Thieves. So not somebody that has a lot under his belt. But I got to be honest. When you told me about this movie, I had never heard of it, and then when I saw it, I was like, okay, I'm interested. So. You saw this first beforehand.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk to you? And what was your second viewing like watching Black Dynamite?
It's one that is just an evergreen comedy for me. I always still get laughs from some of the gags and everything.
Mhm.
Just I think really for me what I find charming is just the styling of the film.
Mhm.
That it's got the old fashioned film grain to it, and
Yeah.
that's because apparently they actually used some actual Kodak 35 millimeter film for this movie. Which, when I found that fact out, it just kind of blew me away. I was just like, "Holy cow!" Just I didn't think anyone was insane enough to just film on actual 35 millimeter film, since digital's just so damn cheap and you can just kind of put any sort of rendering effects in post.
Mhm.
But they went the extra mile and actually factually filmed with 35 millimeter film, and it just feels just like a vintage blaxploitation movie. But when you see the date that it was made, you're just like, whoa, holy cow, this was recent. Wow, holy cow.
Yeah. I will say though, there are some and I wouldn't be surprised if this is true. There's some instances where it does seem like they're using digital cameras, and they're using an inauthentic film grain, but it's more of the more outlandish action scenes where I really feel like, oh, that doesn't look as authentic. But it's not a distraction, really. It's more of
Yeah.
if you're paying attention to it, like really, if you're really paying attention, you'll catch it. But at no point was I watching this going, this is just it's not just something that they just added on top. It does feel authentic to an extent. So yeah.
But as usual, just the fight choreography is just an absolute treat. But that's also because Michael Jai White is a very accomplished martial artist as well too. So
Mhm.
definitely no surprise there.
Yeah, Michael Jai White, if I recall correctly, his most famous role was Spawn. He was
Yeah.
Spawn. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Spawn has not aged well since it was released. But yeah, right. I mean, I will point out by saying my experience with blaxploitation films are limited. I've seen Foxy Brown, Jackie Brown, Django Unchained, Shaft, and Across 110th Street. That's it. Those are the only ones I've seen. So I'm coming at this like knowing the genre, but not being real intimate with it. And
Right.
I did enjoy the film. It was real. There was some pretty funny gags and some funny lines in the movie. But this movie kind of reminds me, when I was watching it, I was definitely getting the reminder of Austin Powers. And the reason why is not because it's set in the past and it's a throwback. It's more of the lines of, when I watched Austin Powers, when I saw it in the theaters in '97, I liked it a lot. I thought it was funny. But then when I started watching James Bond movies a lot, I really started to get more and more references from James watching James Bond movies from Austin Powers, and I liked it even more because of it.
Right.
My feeling is, again, being a novice of this type of genre, if you really like the genre, I think this movie is. I think you're gonna really like this movie. You're gonna find it hilarious with its references.
Yeah, and just I think really just for me, just the script and the line delivery just really just comes together so well,
Yeah,
especially with some of the gag lines, which I'll during the spoiler part of this. But yeah, just some of the lines just are so right on time and delivered just oh so perfectly. And I think that's what had me laughing through just most of the movie and everything.
yeah. It seemed deliberately awkward in some sense, but it wasn't awkward as in they should have done a few more passes. It was more like it was more deliberate,
Oh
and
yeah,
the comedy part of the comedy and what works in the movie is that they lean into it and they really lean into the awkwardness and the stiff dialogue and how basically these are obvious caricatures that they're dealing with, but they're blown up to a funny degree. It's not like, except for maybe a couple of characters, the caricatures aren't too outlandish, but they're outlandish enough where it's kind of charming in a way. So yeah,
yeah,
I like that.
yeah, and just I think really just the fact that it sort of keeps a fine line is just what makes the movie, in my opinion, just so good. And I've watched the movie repeatedly,
Hmm.
for many times, especially since I had bought it as a digital and everything.
Hmm.
And every time I pop it on, it still just gets me laughing just from the perfectly timed jokes and every some of the awkward moments where you've got the intentional awkward deliveries. Just it's all good. And yeah, just um, for an action comedy, I would recommend just anyone who's sort of um, into the idea of an action comedy to really check this one out as well.
Right. I would say to somebody who might look at this and say, this movie isn't really my style. It's not what I'm into, so maybe I won't enjoy it as much. I think the me comparing it to Austin Powers was just maybe it was off. I would more do it for the Naked Gun, because the Naked Gun, yeah, you would have to be familiar with crime movies, but there's so many sight gags and there's so much ridiculousness in the movie that you could still enjoy it without the knowledge. And I think that's the same with Black Dynamite. Like, you can actually enjoy this movie without really watching any Blaxplotation films. You'll get more of an appreciation of it, but I think you can enjoy this and laugh your ass off at certain parts just by watching the movie without that knowledge. Wow. Okay. So, getting to spoilers.
Yeah, because I think most of the hilarity is just going to be all spoiler territory.
All right. Okay. So at this point, we're going to go into spoiler talk for Black Dynamite. At this point, if you haven't watched it and you're interested, turn it off. Come back to us when you're done, and we will get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, Zero. Let's not spoil all the jokes. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's well, if we can try not to spoil all the jokes, that'd be great. But I one of the things I enjoy, like I laughed at every time in this movie, is when the oral call sign comes up, the dynamite,
Yeah.
dynamite. And the funniest one was when Dynamite was 12 years old. He throws the kids out the window.
Oh,
My
man.
God.
Yeah, that one, holy cow. It's just, 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 the kids just calling him an orphan. I was just
Orphan.
like, oh my, oh no, this is not gonna end well for those kids. And they're just, you're beep. just being hucked out the window. Just like, oh my god.
Yeah, I know.
On your mention of some of the jokes having an intentionally awkward delivery, I think
Mhm.
one of the ones that stands out the most to me was the one where Dynamite and Glory are kind of walking around the neighborhood after things
Oh
have
no.
cleared up, and Gloria sees the girls
Oh god, I love that
playing
scene.
double dutch on the jump ropes. And of course, the two young girls are like, "Yeah, my daddy's name is Black Dynamite. Yeah, my daddy is also named Black Dynamite." And then you see Gloria giving him the side eye, and then Dynamite's like, "Oh, hush up, little girls. Lots of hip cats got that name." And I was just like, "Holy cow!"
Oh god.
Yeah, the delivery, the intentionally awkward delivery was so good.
Or during the stereotypical romance scene, not the sex scene, but the scene where they're playing in the field and she's trying to do the "oh, you're coming after me," and he's like, "what the hell are you doing?" You're like, what? um yeah,
Yeah, and
like,
then
go ahead.
I think and then you've got some of like the physical humor lines and some of the lines that just had some excellent delivery. Um like one of the lines that's towards the end of the movie is just where Dynamite has a major moment where just Bullhorn's been killed and everything, and he's like fiendish Doctor Wu, you done fucked up now. I was just like, oh man, he's getting ready to just start laying the beat down. And then of course the boomerang gag was hilarious too, where just the boomerang just suddenly comes out of a window and just hacks off Doctor Wu's hand, and of course Dynamite's just like, ha! I threw that shit from the other room. It's just like, oh my god.
I think god, what was there's a lot of funny stuff in this movie. The kids are the one with the orphan gag was probably the funniest for me. I think I'm surprised, as crazy as the ending was, that it wasn't appropriately crazy enough.
Yeah, it was a little bit tame.
Um, I don't know about tame. Well, yeah, kind of. You're right. You're right. Actually, it is a little tame, but it just I don't know. Like, I guess because he's called Tricky Dick, I guess that kind of works in this. But
Yeah.
I just yeah, like the ending, the last 5 minutes, I was like at first I was like, oh my god, where's they gonna go next with? Oh my god, and then at the end of the fight, I was like, all right, yeah, sure. So every death scene of his friends is pretty funny. I think Cream Corn was probably the funniest.
Yeah.
Oh shit, Cream
Yeah.
Corn.
Yeah, that one was pretty wild. And then of course the intro of the movie was just so good. Just uh Jimmy just being quietly called out, and then of course just kind of backing himself into a corner going, and what kind of jive punks do you think I am? I ain't no snitch. And then of course just the outlandish gun scene of him just being gunned down to death.
Yes.
It's just like, oh my god, this is just way over the top.
And they use the funny God, what is it? The stereotypes they use in those action movies where they would sniff the bullet and lick the bullet and just be like, "Oh, I know this type." I'm like, "What?" It's like
Yeah, that was a pretty wild gag too.
yeah. I mean, I thought the movie was funny. Um, but it's not the funniest movie I've ever seen, but again, that really just goes to my familiarity with Blaxplotation films. It's limited, so I think that's why I like. I think the scene where they piece together what's going on with the man and with the drugs and everything. Oh, by the way, IMDb, you spoil the entire twist of the movie. By the way. Like the what's it, IMDb or there was a plot synopsis I read somewhere, and it was just a standard plot, like the plot line of what happens in the movie, but they spoiled the big gag in the movie, which
Right.
I was so pissed when I saw that. I was like, that's going to be a big deal, isn't it? And then, sure enough, it's probably one of the funniest gags in the movie, and it
Yeah.
was kind of ruined because it's like, oh, great. I was surprised they showed that guy's penis. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, that was a bit of a shock. It's like, whoa.
It's like, you want to die or something? I'm like, uh, you want to die? Okay. Yeah.
Um,
God.
yeah, and I was gonna say, I think probably one of my favorite fights with just some of the best choreography was probably the hip pocket fight. That one was probably by far one of my favorites, and also some of the funniest stuff happened in that fight too.
Yeah, I like how when it's Black Dynamite who's fighting, it's expertly choreographed, well fought, well executed. But one of his friends, it is so poorly done. It is so bad that it's just like, oh, okay, is that what you're doing? Like, was it like in the beginning of the film where he was fighting those people at the bar? And then Bullhorn came by and he was like, I'll take it from here, Black Dynamite. And
Yeah,
literally,
yeah,
he
that
misses
and
every punch.
yeah, that was the latter part of the hip pocket fight, and yeah,
Oh,
just
yeah.
and I think that they ended up leaving an intentional outtake where he actually ends up slapping the guy,
Yeah.
and I was just like, oh my god, that's just too funny. Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay. Um, do you want to go more on this, or should we stop here because we really don't want to spoil the all the jokes.
Yeah,
I think. Go ahead.
it's probably a good point to stop because yeah, just for anyone who's still with us in the spoiler portion, yeah, just for us to spoil the whole thing and you not to watch would just be a travesty because this movie is just way too funny.
Yeah.
You gotta come in just just ready for the jokes because they just hit hard and fast, and by the end you'll just kind of be in a whirlwind going, my God, just all the jokes were really good and hit on the nose for the most part.
Right. I also like how they used the same tactics at the time, the same shooting tactics at the time, when it came to doing action scenes, like the deliberate cuts, the the stock footage that they had used for all the crashes, like whenever a car would come down the hill, it would explode automatically before it even hits the ground.
Right.
I I love, and they would show the same thing for each one over and over again. It was funny. I liked that a lot. I mean, like I think I said before the spoilers. I mean, to get more of an appreciation, if you have a more of appreciation of Blaxplotation, I really think you'll enjoy this. But if you don't, it's funny. It is a funny movie. So yeah, let's go to our final thoughts. Zero, why don't you go ahead?
Um, my final thoughts, pretty much, um, the movie's still great, even for the many times that I've watched it over and over again. Um, I think really just the the appreciation for the cinematography is definitely one of the points that it has going for it, especially since it kind of replicates the vintage blaxploitation film look with the film grain and everything, and then just the great timing on the delivery of the jokes, be they the awkward sort of jokes or just some of the more slapstick style jokes, just they land quite well, and it's just a laugh riot throughout the whole film, and uh, really just it's like you said, and I'll echo the same sentiment. Just you don't have to be a fan of blaxploitation movies to enjoy this. This is definitely enjoyable without it, but if you have the perspective, then you're probably going to get a lot more out of the movie than than anyone who may not have an appreciation for blaxploitation films. So yeah, I'd definitely say go watch it, especially since it's on HBO Max right now.
Right.
So there's really no excuse not to pass up on watching it.
And one key point to talk about as well is this movie runs at a good clip. It's only an hour. It's not even an hour and 30 minutes. So if it's also so it's a quick movie to go through. It's never boring. There's never really a dull moment, and when the dull moments and the slow moments that happen are filled with jokes, so you're still laughing when it's happening. So yeah, I mean, what more can be said? It is genuinely a funny movie. Um, it's on the crass side, but I like crass humor, so I'm good with that. Um, uh, like Zero said, you don't need an appreciation of blaxploitation to enjoy it. It you will enjoy it more if you do, but I came away from this really enjoying it and just coming up with just having my favorite lines and favorite gags on there that I personally enjoyed. I probably will watch it again. And now that I think Zero told me before this that there's an animated series of this, I'm probably going to check that out too. So yeah, I would recommend this as well. It's a good movie. With that, won't we ask a quick question? Won't we?
Sure.
Okay. What's your favorite blaxploitation film?
Oh. Wow, that I have to go a little bit modern. Shaft is probably one of my favorites.
Okay. I mean, Shaft is from the '60s, so that's not too modern.
Yeah, it's a bit modern, but yeah, just Shaft is hilarious.
Yeah, it is. Right. Um, let me. I'm surprised what counts as blaxploitation because I thought blaxploitation itself was a genre from a certain time, but apparently movies like Jackie Brown and Django Unchained count, which I don't get really. I mean, like what is really the I guess the question is what is the definition of a blaxploitation film? Because I just thought it was like '60s and '70s film with a predominantly black cast, and with that, there's a certain style to it. So I don't know, but anyway, it's Shaft for me too. But the honest truth is, I don't have that much of a like. I haven't seen a lot of them, so and that's definitely a blind spot I have. But yeah, Shaft is my favorite too. So yeah.
Yeah, because I know when we were talking about this, you apparently found out that the movie Undercover Brother
Oh God,
is apparently a blaxploitation film, and you're like,
solid.
whoa, really?
I know, but like but that's a satire, so that's a little. I guess I can see why, but I don't like to count satires of a certain genre as that genre. You know, it's ostensibly a comedy, and that's it to me.
Right,
So like because like like we used before, the Naked Gun. Yeah, Naked Gun technically can be considered a crime movie, but that's not the point of the movie. It's a comedy. It's supposed to be something that lampoons those types of movies. So even though technically it is, I really don't count it. So, I mean, my definition of blaxploitation is '60s and '70s, so it would be Shaft. But if this counts, then Jackie Brown is my favorite blaxploitation movie.
yeah,
I
that's
just I
definitely
just
not a bad pick either.
no. Oh God, no. Jackie Brown is, in my opinion, Tarantino's best movie. But I don't. I don't know. Like, I really have to read up and see what counts as blaxploitation because I look at Jackie Brown and I'm like, it's doing a lot of send ups, I guess, but and it has Pam Grier, so I guess for that maybe, but no, I don't know. I don't count that. So
Yeah.
yeah, if not Jackie Brown, Shaft. Zero, I believe it's your turn to choose the next movie. So why don't we talk about our pick criteria and what we're watching for next week?
Yeah, sure. So, with June being Pride Month, I know you had kind of made the call to look at some films that highlight the LGBTQ community.
It's raining
And
man. Hallelujah. Yeah.
and then, of course, the spread that you had provided was between My Own Private Idaho, Maurice, Pride, Tangerine, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Call Me by Your Name, The Birdcage, Beats Per Minute, Carol, and Moonlight.
Hmm.
And I must concede to this. I'm a big, big fan of Robin Williams. May his soul rest in peace. So I just had to go with The
Right.
Birdcage.
The Birdcage is a 1996 film. It is the remake of Le Cage aux Folles, which is a 70s film from France. Yeah, this was a popular film in '96 when it came out. So, have you seen it before?
Never.
Okay, so this is going to be interesting. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to watch this movie and to, I guess, look at it at the light of today and how the LGBT movement is now, and with how acceptance of gay, lesbian, transgender pride is. So this will be interesting to watch. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, next week we will be discussing The Birdcage. The Birdcage is on HBO Max. And at this point, I would suggest if you watch movies, HBO Max is probably your pick since almost everything is on there. Jesus. Yeah. Tune in next week for our review of The Birdcage. I am the Wiz,
And I'm Zero.
and we'll talk to you next week.